is a brand new project, the Smith Lakers podcast.
Okay.
I hope
This is it?
this is
Inaugural?
Starting it right now.
Okay.
This is
Building.
it.
Go.
I'm ready.
We're born ready.
We're going to be interviewing very interesting people around the lake.
When are y'all starting that? After this podcast?
This is it.
This is it.
No, but you'll do the interesting people next.
No,
Okay.
y'all are it. Yeah.
We may not be
Groundbreaking.
much, but we are interesting.
Yeah.
That's true.
Well, I think there's a lot of interesting people, but I've come to find out there's a lot of interesting people around the lake, from entrepreneurs to war veterans.
Same.
So there's a lot of great stories to tell. A lot of them I probably don't even know how great they are, but I'm really excited about it. So Shane and Laura Quick,
Here we
That's
are.
us.
how are y'all doing?
We're here.
Thank y'all for doing this. Y'all have 15 businesses and kids and dogs.
Well,
Plenty
the
of
kids are
plenty of
kinda-
spare time.
They're kind of grownish. The kids are grownish. The dogs are still pretty high maintenance, though.
The dogs are very high maintenance.
We understand that life.
So I started messaging Laura.
Incessantly.
Not too bad. Just like little bits here and there.
I was trying to vet you out to make sure you weren't crazy.
Well,
I was like,
We're here.
okay.
All right.
yeah, I
You did
keep
good.
all that
But
off
he did
social.
a good job. You can tell if somebody's crazy if they're
Yes.
not talking about their family and their children
Right.
and like, this is my business. And so I appreciated that you were like, my wife and I. And then I'm like, oh, say more, Jason. Tell me more about your wife and your
Yeah, you got to
children.
have a wife to be normal. That's what it is.
Accurate.
All right. So, icebreaker question. If you had to describe your relationship in one word, what would it be? Who wants to go first?
I'll go. Adventurous.
Fun.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
It's fun.
That's the way to be.
It is fun. We're entering into like a new fun adventurous season. We've always been that way, but we got like some new fun stuff.
Yeah.
Y'all don't have more businesses coming.
Shane's always
Oh
anything
my
can happen,
gosh.
Jason.
Never
All right.
know. Never know. I'm a starter.
Yeah.
I like to start businesses and then give them to people to run them.
And I stay ready. Just leaned in and like,
Yep.
oh,
Ready to catch
this
what he
we doing?
throws?
This is what we doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I hate the bunny trail. I really don't hate the bunny trail, but
He loves it.
I also like to start businesses and then pass them off to people to run them.
Well,
But
that was going to be
I'm
my
not really
question.
good at the passing it off.
Yeah. Well, that was going to be my question is how do you find the right people?
Yes.
Like people,
That you trust, that care about it as much as you do.
yeah, and people are like the hardest part of life, right? I mean,
Especially business.
I think
would
in
say.
this phase of life, I've learned too that like you just collect some people and sometimes there's some bumps in the road and it's okay. You know, you're not taking everybody with you to the finish line, but you know, how do you find the right people? How do you align with the right people in a small town that you trust and that do a good job?
I've been super blessed with that. I have some really great partners, and I've been able to mostly find them here in my hometown. My first partners were in the Carolinas. They found me just because it's a very small industry. Michael Pugh is a partner. He's a Coleman guy. His sister has been my right arm for 16, 17 years. Partner from Fairhope, Alabama, Nathan Ball, that I own Rock the South with, and Peachtree Entertainment. And so a lot of Southeast for sure, but and an incredible amount of employees that are mostly from here. But there's talented people everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, we've just tried to have the right culture to attract them and to keep them.
That matters.
It
And I
matters.
think expectations are the biggest thing. When you're thinking about passing something off, you have to have a good enough, clear enough vision that you can healthily pass something off. Because sometimes if you're in the starting point and maybe the vision is still kind of coming to fruition, what happens is it feels impossible to pass it off because you're not sure what you want.
Yeah.
And when you don't know exactly what you want,
That's a good
everybody
point.
will disappoint you. So I think that's the other thing. Shane's a really clear vision caster. And so if he can cast that clear vision to the right people, it's really easy to get out of the way and let capable people do the things.
Yeah. I'm really good at passing it off.
Are you good at firing people?
No.
I am
You are.
pretty
are?
decent at finding
Wow.
people.
Okay.
It mostly ends now with like both people being like me saying,
It's a
hey,
win-win.
this isn't a good fit,
Yeah.
and them saying,
Yeah.
I think you're right. And I think that comes from, again, having clarity on what is the meaningful, clear path that we're on here. And it's really easy to tell who's on it and who's off of it.
Right.
And then they know too.
They do.
So,
She's meaner than me.
It usually is a
am
win-win at the end.
more direct than him. but I wouldn't say meaner. I'm actually very nice, very kind.
I would just
I believe you.
ignore you until you leave.
That's
Yeah.
true. Shane will nothing you, and I will come and sit. I always say, you know,
Yeah.
because I get closer to you.
Yeah.
Shane, you know, because he pulls way
Yeah.
far away. So I lean in.
Jason does that too.
And I'm like, hey, let's have a meeting.
Pull
I wanna-
away.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just
Yes, him
see
too.
you in a decade.
See you
When
never.
you
Never.
unfollow them on Facebook, they know.
Okay. We got a lot in
He
common.
is he's the king of unfriend, and I'm like, you just gotta blow up everything like that. It's right here on a Thursday, and then they're like, why do you unfriend me? I don't know. Our businesses are separate.
Well, let's give everybody some background on who Shane and Laura are first. We get too deep into this, but Shane's in the music business. He's a real estate developer. And by music business, how many different, you got Rock the South, Rock the Country, and Auburn Rodeo.
Yeah, Tailgates and Tall Boys, Georgia Rodeo, Texas A&M Rodeo.
Good gosh.
We'll do over 20 festivals this year, and then 28 probably next year. So in country music, we're the largest producer of country music festivals in the world.
And then Rock the Country's in several locations, right?
Yeah, 10 cities.
That's the one that's down in Mobile? Mm-hmm. Okay.
There was one.
We
there.
did.
there
We
was.
did Mobile. It was kind of a 1 year
Yeah.
deal. Some of them are multiple years. Some of them are one-time deals, just depending on the market. But yeah, we own it with Kid Rock. A documentary just came out on that. If you want to check it out on YouTube, Rock the Country documentary.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
I'll definitely check that out.
So yeah, we're busy.
Well, that's special with him being a headliner this year, Kid Rock,
Yeah.
right?
Well, he's not just a headliner; he's a partner.
Yeah.
In Rock the Country, but
But
yeah,
he is also
Headlining.
headlining Rock the South as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
So,
So-
what was your first business?
My first business was Real Life Promotions. I dropped out of high school, as you do as a successful entrepreneur. right?
Absolutely.
You drop out of something.
Yes.
I mean, it just depends
Yes.
when you drop out.
Yeah.
But you do.
So
When I-
dropped out of high school. Did you go back and get a GED?
So my brother got killed in a construction accident when I was 15.
Okay.
And then just through the tragedy of that, dropped out of high school, and I did get my GED immediately. It's the first thing I did. And so I at least have that. And then I worked in a factory in Hanceville for 9 years, a wood mill called Louisiana Pacific. And great job. Taught me a lot about work, taught me a lot about respecting the dollar, being on time. You know, I was so lazy as an 18-year-old. I had no idea how to work. You know, I was the baby of the family, and I knew I didn't want to do construction work. What's funny is I found myself back to it, you know, doing construction work. And
I literally have a picture of him like breaking up concrete from like 4 days ago.
yeah, And it's kind of in my DNA, I guess, but I do it on my own terms.
That's
It's
right.
different when you're toting lumber for your dad versus,
That's right.
you know, building out your own buildings. But,
Right.
But yeah, my first business was Real Life Promotions. Right before my brother got killed, we were having a conversation. I was helping him put underpinning around his trailer. He had just got saved. He just got into church, got cleaned up, got off drugs, just got saved. He said, before I knew God, thought I had life. He said, but now I have real life. And so I named my first company Real Life Promotions after him in his honor. And
I love that.
yeah, and we kind of discovered or got super early on a band called Casting Crowns that ended up really taking the country
Yeah.
Christian music world by storm. And I was one of their first promoters in the Southeast and kind of growing. And that was the band that really got me out of the factory. They started giving me more and more opportunities, and the agency that had them kept giving me more and more bands. We just had a hot hand. I mean, we then got a new worship leader named Chris Tomlin and an artist named Jeremy Camp and so many bands. There was just a bunch of, there was a huge wave of bands that came out at that time, and we were able to get on them early, So we're still the largest producer in the world as well of Christian concerts. And we still, we do Brandon Lake, Elevation.
Do y'all do Winter Jam?
We own Winter
Okay.
Jam. Yeah, we own Winter Jam with our partners, New Song.
Okay.
Who started that. We've been with the Gaithers since, I think,
Jimmy Crackcorn.
1998. So yeah, we do a little bit of everything. But I think our company will do 3,000 events this year. So yeah, we stay busy.
All right,
Ours
so
are too.
Laura is a successful business owner in her own right. She's a consulting and
We'll
branding
get in trouble for
agency, a Southern Culture magazine. Are you from Coleman?
No, I grew up in Savannah.
Savannah, Georgia.
And then I moved to Alabama to start my first company, which is just a consulting firm. And then I launched Good Grit magazine in 2014, went to print with it in 2015. And then we're just celebrating our 10th year in business.
Wow. So how long have you and Shane been married?
7 years in November. And we've been, I mean, I've loved them since forever, but.
So you've known each other a while? Yeah. That's interesting. So what part of Alabama were you in? Were you in Birmingham?
I moved to Birmingham.
And then, so how does it feel living in small town Coleman and then being out here on the lake where you've got all this privacy and?
I mean, it was a little bit of culture shock. Like, my son was going to boarding school in Coleman at St. Bernard, and we were not Catholic, and so that was hilarious. He actually still holds the record for the most attentions to ever be given out in a single year. He's famous, actually, at St. Bernard. Probably gotten the most arguments with the religion teacher about the things he didn't agree with, and I'm like, just stop arguing with her.
Yeah.
But speak your mind, baby.
But also, you believe what you believe.
That's right.
Okay. And then, but Coleman was hard, a little bit of a hard adjustment, just because I'd been in downtown Birmingham, and I lived in a loft and could walk to like the best restaurants downtown. It was really fun. And moving to Coleman was way more about Clay at the time, because he was in school here, and then we were already dating when I moved here. And I will say, I got a nice dose of small town about the first 3 or 4 months that I was here. Like, there were some mean girls who hurt my feelings when I first moved here.
Because you were taking an eligible bachelor?
I don't think that. No, definitely.
Oh yeah.
That was.
Oh yeah.
Maybe
Definitely
that was it.
I mean, successful, you know what I mean? Like,
I think it was way more about.
No.
I don't think that's what it was. I think it was way more about just like, small town, it's super easy to be on the outside fray. And when you're on the inside fray, sometimes that vapid connection is gossip.
right.
And so thinking you're in a safe group of people and sharing something that maybe was too vulnerable for that crowd, but then them taking that information and weaponizing it. And that's hard. I didn't have enough in the bank with them to share the things I was sharing, and I learned the hard way. And so then I got, I was like, all right, learn my
Small
lesson.
circle.
Okay, that's cute. Tighten it back up.
Yep.
You know what?
Yep.
I'll deal with my friends, the 4 or 5 that I have that don't live here. It'll be fine.
You know what? 4 or 5 is a good life.
No, it's the best life. And now I've learned a ton that even those people that I would consider were probably mean girls, they didn't mean to. It was just small
They just
town
needed
stuff.
Okay,
they
baby.
needed
Go.
drama.
Go.
Yeah.
They were
Yeah, they
used to
needed
just
something.
talking.
Go.
Yeah.
They were just talking about something
Talking about
I didn't
anything.
want them to talk about.
So what have you grown to love and appreciate about these communities now that you're much more established?
Oh my God, everything. I love Coleman, and I thought it was crazy in the beginning because I was like, "Oh, Coleman, so this is where you want to stay
Forever.
So here, right here?" And he was like, "Well, yeah, this is." And we've had houses in Nashville, and it's so funny. We'd have a house in Nashville, and we'd drive all the way home. 2 hours. We'd drive all the way home. And so what I have learned to love about Coleman is the same thing that I probably was offended by now are the things that I love the most. I love the people. I love the fact that you can go almost anywhere and run into someone you know. I love that you can have like a real conversation with someone just at the grocery store about life or school or football game or what's happening on the lake. I love that you can go places and people remember your order, that they know what drink you love. I love that. There is just this beauty of the nostalgia of small town that we get to have, and it feels like a real luxury with how busy life is. I call it our cute little Hallmark town, and I'm really thankful. I don't know what you would say about that.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, it's home
Sounds
for
great.
him, right? So
Well, it's home for him is different for him. He
Yeah.
has different pressures than I do, being from here and living here.
Sure. Yeah. I always say we all live in a small town. Everybody does.
That's true.
Even if you live in New York, you don't live in New York. You live on the block you live on.
yeah,
You shop at the grocery store.
You go to the same coffee
You go to the
shop.
same coffee shop.
yeah.
It's a small town America is a thing that we all are, you know. And having people that know you and can be there for you and know your kids and are for you, you know, encourage you, that's something that we all want. And I don't think it's just a Southern thing. I think it's a world thing. I think we're all that way. We all want to know our people and to be, you know.
And be known. You want
Be
people
in
to check on
community.
you.
It's the old Cheers. It's the old Cheers song. You want to go where everybody knows your name.
That's right.
And they're
Love
glad
that.
you came. You know, that's.
Go ahead and sing that. Rip that off.
I could sing it all. I could do it.
Well, how would y'all define being a gainful part of the community?
Yeah, I mean, you know, look, we're just driven people, and if we see everything that I've ever been able to do, one of the roots of it all was this isn't happening, so I want it to happen, and someone needs to do this. It's
Why not? Why not?
and why
Shane
not?
Quick?
And why not
Yeah.
us?
Yeah.
I'm not the kind of guy, you know, take for example, I wanted to have a modern Mexican restaurant in Coleman. And so for 5 years, we begged Taco Mama to come. And they finally just told me to stop calling, and then they're not coming. And it's not in their 5-year plan. So I said, to hell with it. We'll build our own.
He said, "Hold my beer."
So
Wow.
we'll build our own. And we built Taco Marg, and it's killing it. It's in downtown Coleman, and I think it's better. And it has a real bar, and the food is a little bit more upscale, I feel like, than Taco Mama.
It was
But
curated by a chef who practiced in Brazil and is a really incredible guy. He's
Yeah.
super creative. And
but it's local too, you know. So,
Right.
but if there's a need, we'll fill it, and we're not afraid to do that. So I think maybe that's it. I think there may be differing opinions about what impact we've made or not made, but at the end of the day, we love this place, and instead of saying, well, we're just going to move to another city that has things that we want, we're going to make it happen here.
we try and bring him here.
And there's a culture of those kind of people here too. It's not just us, it's a bunch of people that love Coleman, love this area, and are trying to, you know, if they've traveled the world and they've seen things, it's an ancient idea to travel the world and try to bring that back home. I mean, and that's basically what we've done. And to be able to travel is probably our greatest blessing, one of our greatest blessings, and to see things that people are getting to do in other places. It's just like the city of Coleman. They went and did a field trip to Germany, and they went during Christmas, and they were blown away by this Christmas market vibe and this spirit of the Christmas
Hashtag
market.
Hallmark. Let's go.
And they were like, hold my beer. We're going to go back home to our Germantown and do it in a way maybe no one's ever done it before.
Maybe better than they do. in
Maybe
Germany.
better than they do
It
in
really
Germany.
is
It
just
is
such
so
a precious market.
charming.
It is so charming.
And I would say, just to piggyback on that too, I think that something we always do, and this is a conversation we have in our house, is like we want to leave things better than we found them. Like we're about, we know, one, nobody just starts something like Shane talks about all the time, like Eddie Hart, who pioneered the warehouse district. You know, he bought that and he fought for what he had, and he fought the city for different
Buildings were falling in on themselves, you know, and he went and built that. And then Danny McAfee, you know, saw what was happening and said, I'm in too. And he went and built the other side of the street. Now we have a square, really, you know, our downtown square, because two families decided that they would invest in this area, and now it's a place where people gather, make memories, shop, do festivals, do parades, and it, you know, and when everyone else was kind of letting them fall in, those guys said, we're going to put our hard work and money and effort and time toward making this great, and they did.
And we stand on their shoulders. We know that, like everything. Just like I was really inspired by the giving, you know, in Coleman. It's very philanthropic. There's a, you know, and it's not a lot of duplication. Like it's like very laid out. Like Ashley Wilson, for instance, started Kurt's Closet in her son Kurt's honor, where she clothes children who are kind of in the gap of having what they need, and she provides a retail type experience by appointment only, where you can go in there and
Shop.
shop.
Yeah.
for free.
With music in the background.
Exactly,
Yeah.
in a
Dressing
dressing
room.
room, and
Yeah.
you know,
It's not a box
no.
with things, duct taped.
It's normalcy
No.
for
It's-
children.
yeah.
and it feels really good. And
Then she shares life with them. She
Yeah,
tells
she
them
speaks
how they can
life over them.
how they can achieve anything they want in life.
And
yeah.
it's women like her that inspired me and a group of friends to start a nonprofit that was about bringing women together, especially women who weren't from here, because it was a little more hard to get plugged in. And what we found is there are hundreds of women who were standing in that gap, like, I want to get involved. I want to know.
Sure.
And now we have hundreds of members. Many of them have been here forever and they love the DOMs, and many of them are not from here and they wanted to get plugged in. And it's about mentoring, so bringing women together to have powerful mentoring moments. And the way that we give back is we're eradicating period poverty for all young women under the age of 19, and we've installed in every high school. We do that by hosting a witches ride every year where we gather and do a parade downtown, and we have lots of really cool nonprofit activations, and we bring the matriarchs of our community together to speak wisdom into us. Some of them from here. We had a woman that lives on the lake who's has a PhD in psychology and is a psychologist, and she was one of our speakers, and no one knew who she was. And it was so cool that we had two women that were from here, one woman who no one knew her name. It's okay. And it still packed the house. People came, so we live in a really giving community. And so we know we stand on the shoulders of people who have worked really hard before we showed up and started making impact, whatever that means. So
Right.
leaving it better than we found it.
Well, we've got some work to do.
Oh, I know. I'm just trying to raise these kids right now.
Get through the
Yeah.
children
Once
phase.
they're gone, we're going to get started. So I love this next question because I do feel like there are at least a handful of areas where Coleman is misunderstood. I don't want to say them out loud. I'll wait for y'all to say them out loud.
Wow. Let's do it, huh?
Thanks. Cool. Amazing.
But we have, about Coleman or Smith Lake. And so, maybe one, if Shane, you want to take Coleman, how is Coleman misunderstood? And then Laura, you could take how Smith Lake is misunderstood.
I think Coleman may be misunderstood in that they're just small-minded. Obviously there's been the race conversation. This happened for a long time. So many untruths about that. And I'm sure there's some things that are true. And I'm sure there's people that have felt marginalized. At Coleman, I feel like, and even with the market, the Christmas market, as people were saying, you can't go there, it's a sundown town or whatever. And then actually people of color were coming to the market, or like, actually they treated me like, gold. They treated me really well. Like I said, you can't, even like the city of Birmingham, if you really want to judge a city by its past, I mean, Birmingham's checkered past
Exactly.
it may be the worst in the world in regards to race.
Right.
So there are a group of people in Coleman that are definitely trying to push it forward in the way we think, in the way we are open-minded about things, and the way we go after life.
And hospital, like how we want to be hospitality forward and recruiting people of every walk and making sure that everyone feels welcome. And look, we can't stand up for everybody. And then, you go anywhere, there's going to be someone who's the worst.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and if anything, it's just because they've not seen many people of color.
Right.
It's like we had an African American man who's played basketball named Reggie, who became a great friend of ours, and he's nearly 7 feet tall. He's just a freaking huge human, and he started coming to our church, moved in from North Carolina, and Ethan,
Our youngest, he's
our
19.
youngest, I think, was 5.
This is before me, by the way.
And he had never seen a black guy in Coleman County in his life. And so he went up to him and just stuck his hand out to shake his hand and says, "Hey, Mr. Black Man, I'm Ethan." And so Reggie laughed about that, for years. Like he's called Mr. Black Man. But, I feel like Coleman has been misunderstood that way. I think there has been some lies out there about Coleman. I'm sure there are some things that are true, but it's a great community that when people are in need, we saw it in 2011 when the tornadoes came. When people are in need and you make that need known, people are coming to help.
Yeah.
The churches here help so many people. Neighbors help neighbors. I really feel like it's a caring community. We have very low crime rates here.
And hardworking. Like I feel like North Alabama, like most of the communities are hardworking communities.
I would
you know,
agree.
Blue collar.
That's right.
If somebody's hungry, somebody's going to feed you.
That's right.
Yeah.
And if your car's broke down,
They're gonna help.
somebody's going to pull over. I was leaving out here the other day on my Gator, and there's a guy over here in the four-way just stopped and had his flashers on, and he was from out of town. He seemed like a bigger city guy, and I pulled up to him, and he just looked at me through the windows like, "What do you need?" And I said, "Roll down your window."
Roll down.
Roll down your window.
Like it still does that.
And he said, "Hello, how are you?" I said, "I was just making sure you're okay." And it just shocked him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and he was just making phone calls. He was just trying
Pulled over.
catching up on his emails.
All right. Uh-huh.
You know, but if you see somebody pulled over, you want to know how can I help, and I love that about a small town.
Love that.
We definitely don't have that. I mean, it's honk honk. You
Yeah.
know, like
Yes.
everybody's just trying to get where they're getting.
Maybe it's just a fraction step slower. You know, we're not in too big of a hurry.
Yeah.
To where if somebody's in need, I'm going to pull over and find
priority.
out what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, and I love that about a small town. And like I said, I think everywhere's a small town. And if you see something, if you know there's a young person in your hometown, even your little small block or where you live in a big town, and you see somebody's messing with them, you're going to deal with that. You know, we saw at 9/11, we saw New York come together and helped each other in a way like we help each other in the South
Yeah.
when a tornado comes. And we saw in the Boston Marathon bombing, people come together and help each other like never before in a time like that. I think it's the human spirit, you know, and it really is personified really big in a small town. You can feel it. I love Coleman. I love living here. I love bringing things to them and challenging people and, you know,
And
letting them see new experiences.
We talk about that all the time, like because we travel so much and we feel really grateful we get to do that. Like it's important for us to bring some of that home with us.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same thing. Like I invite my friends and who aren't white to come home, like, and some of them are like, "No, girl, I think I'm good." And I'm like, "No, you should come." And I think that is, you know, that's how you change it.
That's right.
One invitation at a time, one piece of hospitality at a time. That's all I'm going to say about that. Because I think every person has to be an advocate for bringing in people that look
You have
different,
to.
think
Yep.
different. And I will say, I think that Smith Lake, like what people don't understand or maybe they misunderstand about Smith Lake is probably just, I think that as much growth as it has experienced, we barely scratched the surface for probably where it's going in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
And there are people who have been here for generations. I mean, we live next door to maybe the best humans that I've ever met.
Yeah.
And I say next door, they're like a mile away, but they're next door because they'll be here in 5 minutes on the Gator if I need them, you know. And I think that the people that are from here are so kind and so lovely, and it lets you drop your shoulders if you're not from here. So if you're moving here from we have a huge influx of people from California who are buying places in
Nashville and New
Nashville,
York,
New York,
and around the world.
Yes, but I think that when you get here, the people will be the most charming part of being here. Obviously, the second thing is the sunset because it's nature. It is maybe the most magical thing, but the people are really, and you're at the beginning. You know, it still feels pretty rural. You're still going to get lost if you use the wrong GPS app. Do not use Waze. That is my advocacy. Don't do it.
Your Waze
Yeah.
doesn't work well at all.
Waze
I've got
will
to
mess you
toggle
up.
between Google and Apple sometimes to get where I need to go.
And allegedly they're the same, but that's a lie.
They're
That's-
not.
that-
It's not
they're
the same.
not.
I'm Apple
They're not.
all the way. I'm not Googling.
Well, would you
any of
say
it.
that's what newcomers are most surprised by, the hospitality and just how friendly people are and welcoming, or?
I think so. I mean, maybe the wildlife. There's a lot of deer. Okay, and if you haven't seen that, when y'all leave tonight,
I'm
going
hoping
down
so.
our
Diana's insane about animals.
50
In
to
the wild.
75 deer down
In
our
the
driveway.
field?
Down our
In
driveway.
our field, yeah.
You will watch them
They run in
prance.
massive packs.
Herds.
And, yeah,
It's
huge.
insane. We have turkeys. I saw 2 snakes yesterday. One of them was close.
One got in
I'm
our
not
basement.
interested.
One got here in the
Is
house.
this a rat
Oh,
snake?
in the house.
That's
Just
what
a-
everybody says. It's just a.
Just a rat.
Well,
No.
then you see the pictures of people where they're taking pictures of rat snakes killing the poisonous snakes. They're like, this is why you don't kill
Yeah.
the rat
Yeah,
snakes.
you
Can't kill 'em.
don't. You can't kill them. I like the boys. I shit my pants for sure. Not like literally, but I did
For sure.
shit my
Yeah.
pants for sure. I was
No
coming down.
shame in that.
So
No.
listen, if you're over 40, I don't even want to hear it.
It's going to happen.
It's gonna
eventually.
happen. Okay, so
Jason's
this is
favorite conversation.
I have been made fun of because I don't necessarily have a green thumb, but I have access. My pass it to them. They need something.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I've accessed my green thumb, and apparently people were warning me, like, if you start a little garden, you're gonna have snakes. And I was like, devil, get behind me! Don't speak that over me.
Not today.
And no shit. Yesterday, I went outside
They're here.
to put this little thing together, which is so janky that I got from Amazon for my garden. And I finished it, and I came inside, and I was walking in, and then I turned around to walk back downstairs, and I literally froze and shit my pants and started screaming. And I had a house full of teenage boys, and I'm like, get your asses down here right now. So they're like, what's happening? They get down there, and there is a 6-foot rat snake inside our house. Someone had left the downstairs door
No.
open. So heads up, don't do that. And there are good snakes. It really is a good snake. It doesn't do
No.
anything.
But
But
have you seen a bald eagle fly over
Yes.
your deck
Oh, yeah.
before? Yeah, I mean, that's like,
that's
that's pretty
significant.
special.
It's
I saw one
special.
Sunday with a fish in his mouth.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it was.
Listen, when you
So cool.
when you get out to lake, this is the kind of stuff you do. One, you garden. Okay, so good luck with that. It's an arduous process. You also download apps like the Merlin app, so you can bird listen, so you know what birds are singing to
Yeah.
you in the morning. This is who I am now. I'm like that girl.
I support it.
I
I'm
love
like,
it.
babe, you
I
gotta
support
download
it.
the Merlin
We
app.
bought the Bluetooth camera bird feeders.
Oh,
And then,
that's cool.
And then we have the acrylic
can
ones
can't
for the
figure out how to
the
use it
kitchen
quite yet.
window. So there's always a bird. Yeah, well, yeah, right. That's not
Well,
I'm
we
gonna
have
get my
set
son
up,
to
but,
figure it out.
but we have it.
but the acrylic ones are really cool. He put one at the kitchen window, and so we have birds at the kitchen window.
Stop.
They're pretty cool.
I can't.
All right, we're going to take a break, and then we'll be right back. All right, so our next segment, we're going to talk about entrepreneurship and economic impact. We're going to start with Shane with Rock the South. Why Rock the South? Why Coleman?
You know what? The best festivals in the world happen in small towns. Bonnaroo's in Manchester, Tennessee, or Coachella's in Indio, California. They're not in LA. They're not in Nashville. It's a better host than going to a big city with the traffic and hotels versus camping and the dirt roads. And, it's also, cities aren't built for that, but, out in the country, it's
Where there's land.
where there's
position.
land, it's better. With Coleman, obviously I live here, and Rock the South was kind of born in the shadows of a tornado outbreak. So we created the festival. We did an event like 5 days after the tornadoes hit.
You threw it together, or
We did. We
you
just
just
put-
threw it together in 5 days?
We did.
Okay.
And it was casting crowns. I told them what had happened, and the churches needed a place to meet. It was a Sunday. The Sunday after the tornadoes, we invited all the people and the churches and everybody to come and have a day of rest, have a moment of rest as we were rebuilding our cities and getting trees off of houses and all the things. We had no cell phones. It was a wild time, and we were able to get Casting Crowns to come in. We had 20,000 people show up, and that was kind of the birth of, oh wow, we might be able to do something, And then so we sat on it for a few months, several months, and then with the anniversary of the tornado outbreak coming up, we decided to do something on the anniversary of it. The city actually hosted the event and ran the event, and just asked me to help coordinate it, and we did. And the city realized they didn't want to do that event and asked me if I'd take it over and just do it on my own. In 2013, we basically took it over on our own and made it 2 days, made it a 2-day event, and then grew it from there. But so Rock the South is special because it was kind of born in this area, and I lived here, And so with our other festivals, those opportunities came in similar fashions, and The reason why they started had their own story.
But also they started from that birthplace of like, we saw the impact. And, you know, we could tell you about the numbers. We could tell you the economic impact is, you know, millions, 20, 30, 50, hundreds of millions of dollars that have happened and come into our community since 2011 when Shane launched the festival. But what is most inspiring to me as a person who wasn't here when he began, but has had kind of a front row seat since I've known him, is I love hearing the stories that roll in. That's kind of what I do. I like catching people's stories and being like, but for real, what's going on over there? And the amount of families who will tell you, when we parked cars, we were able to pay off my son's truck. When we parked cars, we took a family vacation and we'd never taken one before.
Yeah.
We sent our child to college, you know, and it was paid for. We sold hot dogs and we were able to do this thing we wanted to do, or buy my daughter a car or whatever. Like, we ran golf carts. Those trickle down stories that never make it into the impact report,
Yeah.
that you can't really measure, but we know we're collecting them. That is really kind of what I loved about he and Bob partnering on Rock the Country, was it was kind of birthed out of that same place of like, when you go into these small places that don't have the same opportunities as big, densely populated areas, you can really change the narrative. You can change the trajectory of real people's lives. Like, the human element of that is really special.
Yeah.
Well,
The
Coleman,
families, I mean, we go to Rock the South and, you know, like, we have our favorite house that we love to park at, you know, like, they make it fun and you know your stuff is safe and you don't have
Yeah.
to worry about it, and they bring out porta potties. I mean, it's just, it's such a community, you know,
It is.
and they appreciate it,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Even last year we wrote a $250,000 check to join in with the county and the city of Coleman to redo the roads around the festival.
Right.
When we first went there, those roads were already trash.
Oh, they're bad.
They really were.
They're bad.
And, you know, I'm proud to be a part of a festival that would write a $250,000
Absolutely.
check to fix roads in a year when we lost money on the festival.
wow.
Yeah. It was
We
a
didn't-
hard year.
We lost a lot of money that year. And
Well, you don't give when it's convenient.
No.
You don't do the right thing when it's
we have
convenient.
always pledged the money that we give away at the festival every year before we know if we're going to make money or lose money. And, you know, but we still have people that critique or hate or talk shit about the way we give away money.
Remember when they
Yeah.
went and said like PETA, they were going to call him PETA because they were the noise pollution for the cows. I was like, what is
But
happening?
you can't base
You
your
can't win them all.
passions.
No.
You can't base your passions, your convictions, your charity or your philanthropy,
standards.
your standards on a handful of people who just don't know the truth and
Right.
the stories. You know, Rock the South is a passion project for us.
Yeah.
It really is. It's a passion project. We give it our heart and soul. And because of that, it means more probably than just about anything we do. And then when people, you know, talk and run their mouth, it probably hurts a little more.
Well, it's hard because he's here and he's from
It's
here.
your community.
And
Yeah.
I always say like, and he's so much better than 10 years ago for sure. But it's so hard. People like, he gets the brunt of it because he
People
is
are mean.
local.
Oh, yeah.
And they're mean. And
People are
listen,
mean.
And they love to
it's
tell
not-
you
but it's
how
not
bad you
the-
messing up.
It's not the thousands of people that had a great time. It's the 300
people
people,
don't
who
talk.
are just being assholes.
It's the 200 people who have never been.
Yes.
Or
they
whatever.
And never go.
Or they do go and they still find a way to
Yeah.
find something
But,
to
you
critique.
But
know,
those people are
that-
going to be,
that don't
they're
drive
going to be that about anything.
Those people
you know?
don't drive me. The people like Ashley Wilson, knowing we give money to that organization every year, and so many other nonprofits.
The link.
Yeah, the link, and even the family
The food
reunion that we
pantries.
have with our fans and our employees and the people that work that festival every year. It's something we look forward to. It has our heart, has our soul. So we do it for that reason. But I say that to say, it's like, there's a lot of things that we've done over the years that we never told anybody about. When a tornado outbreak happens in another city, and how we've given people funerals that didn't have burial insurance because
Actually, almost every tornado outbreak that Shane hears about in the Southeast, he is immediately on the phone with funeral directors, finding out is there anyone at risk that didn't have insurance. And if there is a gap, he rallies the troops to fill it.
Now, a little story here. Okay, so I have a little infatuation, let's say, with Morgan Wallen.
Oh.
And
Like, where are we
everybody
going
else.
with
I
You had a
didn't
little
get,
romance?
I didn't
Everybody.
get to, he doesn't know about it,
Okay.
but I'm very well aware of it, and a lot of other people are. But I didn't get to see him because Diana said that Rock the South was like, the story she had heard was that it was just like,
Don't go.
maybe like bike. I have like this vision of like bike week. Like it's just a,
Now, this is coming from Birmingham people, you know.
yeah, like you go
So
up
we
there.
didn't go
But
that
the
year.
Pretentious.
We didn't go that
Go up
year,
there
but
if you want
then
to get
we.
your ass beat.
Yeah, I think that's what she said. I think that's what she
Right.
said. But then we went the next year, and I was like,
You were so upset that you didn't get to see Morgan Wallen. You were pissed, weren't you?
I'm so upset.
I'm sorry.
look at him.
Yeah,
But the
it-
first time I ever heard Zach Bryan was at Rodeo. No, it was at Rock the South. And I was like, who is that? I mean, I was just like,
Taking it.
I was in it. Yeah.
Well, earlier that day, he was hanging out here, jumping off cliffs.
I don't even want to hear
What?
that.
Yeah, we had him here, and he hung out all day and loved Smith Lake. He said, "I want a place on the lake." The Crichters, who are our neighbors here,
Who are our like family?
legacy
Can you
Smith Lake
imagine
people.
if he moved here and just came over and played every now and
That'd be
then?
fun.
I
It'd
mean,
be
look,
fun.
that could be a part of it.
I had him down $1,000 in pool in the basement.
That's true.
I hope
And
he
so
took
did
his
Clay.
money. I hope he took his
Wait,
money.
but he's a pool shark.
Nah, he's not.
He's not.
Well,
Well,
is.
he might
Okay,
be.
Wait.
He might be, but I grew up in a pool hall.
Shane also is a pool shark, and he'll pull you in and almost have you convinced you have a chance, but you don't.
Well, and then my dad could beat me with one arm, you know. So anyway, I'm sure he's better. I'm sure Zach's better now, but we were
Practice
we were whipping
a little bit.
we were whipping his ass here on Smith Lake.
That is so awesome. All right, Laura, let's give Laura some time.
Oh.
So, Laura, why did you ultimately decide to move Good Grit here to Coleman?
I mean, I don't know if anyone remembers the pandemic, but it was terrible. We had an office downtown Birmingham, and you had to send everybody home. And so we're all kind of working from our porch or our living room, our kitchen table, and so we let the office go just because it was economically the smart thing to do. We were really nervous about what was going to happen. And magazine business is really hard. We had just launched the agency piece of our business in 2019. What ended up happening is, so I let the office go, and Shane deep dives into development because he went from doing 2,000 shows a year to 0 shows. Like that.
I had to lay off most of my employees.
And we handled the pandemic very differently. I was like, everything gonna be all right. And Shane was like, we're gonna die. He was literally, this is a no.
People wearing Tyvek suits on TV, man.
Listen,
I saw it.
I thought we were dying.
I
did
want
too.
you to know that we
I was
lived
spraying
in a-
all of our groceries with
No.
Lysol.
Dude, you were wiping,
We were
our
wiping down the
groceries
cereal
down.
boxes.
I'm like,
He was literally,
worst
We were.
So
And she was out getting her hair did.
yeah, I was
Okay.
trying.
She was like
the last
black market getting her hair
Same.
done.
Well, you can't
Same.
die with bad hair.
Can't have-
That's
gray hair.
exactly. I need to be buried looking cute. Okay. So we handled the
Yes.
pandemic very differently, and I went on long walks. I overdosed on Brene Brown. I listened to worship music. I listened to The Blessing every day, and was like, Lord, let it be true.
And I got introduced to a guy named Pinot Noir.
And we learned a lot, and we learned a ton. We almost killed each other. We were living in a Cracker Jack, my tiny little. He had sold it, so we had just got married in 2018, and then we decided to live in whatever house didn't sell as fast as, and of course my house didn't sell, so we lived in my house, and it was a tiny little bungalow on the west side. And I already wanted to murder him because there were just boys everywhere, and it was me. And I was like, oh my God, this house was made for 2 people, literally. And then the pandemic happens. And so Shane kept legit office hours and would leave our house every morning like he was going to work, but he would legitimately ride around for 8 hours.
8 to 5. I went all over the Southeast
I mean,
and worked from parks, worked from little small
His
towns.
car.
But I worked 8 to 5
You were
all
on the
through the
road.
pandemic.
I have a vivid
from my
memory.
car because
Okay.
our office was closed.
So
Wow.
this is happening. He had a Tahoe at the time. we had therapy, and so the therapy was virtual, and we were on the edge of like for real murdering each other. And we're driving around the Rock the Southland on therapy. So the therapist is like on the dash, and we're leaned in. And he was like, she's just not taking this seriously enough. And he was like, I feel like I need to move into the Rock the South house, because we had this little house that we kept that was like an office for when it was up. And y'all, when I tell you I unbuckled my seatbelt so hard, like it hit the window, almost broke the window, and I bailed out of the car while it was moving. It was going like 2 miles
So
an
I
hour.
had to chase her all over the
And Dawn was, our
property.
therapist was like, Laura, and Shane was like, she is no longer here.
In the car.
She left. We were on the edge. And I bring that up because he dove into real estate development, which probably in a great way saved us, but also planted these cool seeds for our future, and like how he went and invested. This is a very long answer to tell you that because he went so hard into development, he bought some buildings, or we already had some buildings that he started renovating. And he was like, hey, you want to put an office in this? And I was like, well, I don't have an office anymore. That's fine. And I thought, I'll do this short term and then I'll be back to Birmingham when things kind of regulate out. But the truth is, I loved it. And I was just like, this is so fun. It felt so good to be like 5 minutes. And so much of my staff is in Atlanta and Nashville. Some of them are in Birmingham, but for the most part, they're working remotely anyways and only coming in like quarterly. So it's kind of a blessing, this horrible thing that happened, and happened to a lot of people, and a lot of people really suffered. We had some benefits that came out of it, and that was one of them. And I didn't kill him, and he didn't kill me. Praise
And that's a win.
Win.
It's kind of a good segue into this next question about, just the fact that y'all have, 15 plus businesses. It just seems like, that would add to the chaos and the anxiety and the stress.
Sometimes.
But I guess it just keeps it interesting.
Yeah, I think I have a weird way of being able to spin the plates and be okay with it, and have the ability to still sleep at night.
Massive capacity.
Oh, well, trazodone. But
Trazodone,
yeah.
Okay.
yeah, for
It's
sleeping.
sleeping.
Okay.
For sleeping. I was
No,
waking
no
up.
Leclerc takes that too. I think about taking one.
I was up at 2 a.m. Waking up at 2 a.m. all the time until trazodone's a lifesaver. Anyway,
Leclerc's our dog.
Oh.
trazodone. A lot of
Laura's
dogs
like,
take
who's
that.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Lenny Mae also has trazodone. I kind of tracked. I was like, I get it.
It works. But yeah, I mean, just what she said a second ago. If you really want to, and I'm proud of this. It's like I think it's a good picture of our family in regards to investment and belief and faith and things. And we're massively big into manifestation. And we manifest and we write things down and we believe. And our kids do it. And they're seeing the fruits of that. But during COVID, when I had laid off nearly all my employees, went down to the bare minimum, we were losing right at $200,000 a month. And just keeping as many people on payroll as we possibly could. By the time we got to the end of COVID, we had gone through all of our cash as a company. And thank goodness we got relief from SVOG grant. If you want to Google something cool, the SVOG grant saved the music industry, if you want to look into
Literally
that.
saved it.
And we were able to get back most of that back. But during that time frame, we bought the warehouse district. And we had already owned one building in that district. But we bought the rest of that side.
2 buildings, I guess, we'd already owned because Maze. Yeah.
But we invested in that when we were going broke, just because we believed it would come back, and it did.
Well, and
And I think most great entrepreneurs, whenever most people are running away from something, they're running toward it.
That's right.
I was going to say, we believe, we say this all the time, when the chips are down, we're always like, what's the worst thing that can happen? We lose all our money. We know how to make money. We can make more money.
And money is, we're big Jim Rohn fans, especially me. And he always talks about the money is only 10% of what you have.
Right.
But the person you became in order to get that money is really what's the most valuable. Because you can always make money. And we love to take risks. We love to build new things. We love to build teams and solve problems
We love to pour into people. Like, we love finding out what other people's dreams are and remembering the people who invested in ours and doing our best to, like, oh, cool, that's where you want to go. Let's see what doors we can open to get you there.
We tell everybody it works for us. You are here to help us achieve our dreams. And we are here to help you achieve yours. It's really that simple.
It really is.
We're hoping that by you working here, you are getting a step closer toward your dreams and your goals and the place God has for you. That's it. And if that means you leave to get there, then we're going to hold you this way. We're going to hold you with an open hand. We're not going to.
It's not always easy to do.
It's not. But you can't have it both ways. I always say that if you're not willing to hold people loose and let them leave, then
you're never going to get
You
good.
you're never
deserve
going to
to have
get.
them.
You're
Yeah.
never going to get good people.
That's
You know,
true.
so having that culture, like right now at Taco Mar, we're already reading a book called Unreasonable Hospitality. It's a life-changing book.
I love that book.
It's a great
Is
book.
this the Four
Great book.
Seasons book?
No.
Oh.
No.
Unreasonable Hospitality is Will. I can't remember his last name. They had the #1 restaurant in America in New
Okay.
York. And
But hospitality is kind of what they innovated.
But it's
Ways of
it is
serving
a
people.
business book. Every business should read it. Every entrepreneur should read Unreasonable Hospitality. It is a principle-based values book about how to serve people well.
Yeah. The 15 businesses thing is really just for some reason, I find a way to turn every one of my hobbies into a business. And I don't know why or how. Even
Because we like to have fun and go on adventures. So
Yeah.
if we can write off our trips to New York, then we will.
Yeah.
And take people with you.
Even
you
like
know,
with art,
yeah.
I'm so into it. I'm into fine art in a big way, and the market is. If you want to Google art market, it's plummeting. Like these interest rates and the word, the
Just
Those
in
interest
general.
rates aren't plummeting.
No,
right?
no.
They're not.
We need them to.
But speak that. Let's
She knows.
manifest
Yeah.
that.
Let's manifest that.
Manifest that.
Now's the
I'm
time
here
to buy.
for it.
It's a buyer's market.
For art.
It's a buyer's market.
For
For art.
art, you're right.
It's a buyer's market. It's a buyer's market for real estate. Really,
It really is.
But yeah, and so just learning that and
Yes, so we turn all of our hobbies into, and it's the same for me.
I called her last week. I said, "What if we opened an online gallery?
An art gallery?
An online."
And do you know what
Like,
I
have
say?
you gotten like conditioned to the what if? Like, oh gosh, what is he about to say?
No, I'm literally like, I love it. Let's do it. I'll brand it. We'll build a website. It'll be awesome. I mean, like, I'm like the perfect outlet because I don't normally, I have to really think something is a bad idea or like it would be bad timing. It's way more about timing. If I'm ever like, ooh, it's probably because I'm like, ooh, capacity is thin right now.
And mine is and I will tell, and I'm very patient. I will say I want to open an online gallery, and it happens 6 years from now, and I'm totally okay with that.
Yes.
But most of the ideas and the things that I've had that come to fruition is seeds that we planted years ago. Years ago. It didn't happen fast.
You're going to get 2 episodes out of this.
I've already long since decided it's going to be a 2-parter.
Yeah.
I saw a meme yesterday or today. It was talking about some guy, and he had his head in his hands, and it's like, being an entrepreneur means you sleep like a baby. You wake up every 2 hours crying and screaming. But
Yeah.
when you said, like, I just think it's important for people to understand, or at least just hear, when you were talking about losing $200,000 a month and then having the cash just eventually run out.
Right.
A lot of people don't understand what it takes to be an entrepreneur. And, you've got to, that's that key word you mentioned, risk. You've got to be willing to take that risk, to take that leap of faith.
And have the guts to stomach it, you know?
And to people keeping is very important to us. And y'all talked about,
Yeah. I had a politician recently I was on the phone with, and we were talking about something that, that's in the air to possibly do or not do, for them to support or not support. And the politician said, "But Shane, it's such a big risk." And I'm like, you are talking to the wrong guy.
Yeah.
we live for that.
Because everything I've ever been able to do that made any kind of impact was a massive risk.
100%.
And if you want no risk, like Jim Rohn says, we will put you over in a corner and we'll cover you up and we'll make sure you get fed every day and we'll make sure that you're protected and nothing happens to you. And then the guy says, yeah, but that's no way to live. He says, exactly. No risk is a boring life. And if you want a life of nothingness, then take no risks. If you're not going to achieve your goals, if you're sitting there wondering why you don't have what you want, or a lot of times it's mainly because you've not taken that risk, that leap of faith. And it is faith. A business risk is really nothing more than a display of faith. And it's faith that pleases God, the risk taker, the person that puts it's like,
God favors the risk taker. I'm convinced of it.
no question.
I think,
The man in the arena.
yeah.
The one in the arena is the one, not the one in the bleachers talking about it. The one on the ground, the one that's actually doing the thing. But, and I'll tell you, it becomes addictive. Taking risks becomes addictive. It becomes longing for that moment where you got it on the line again, instead of just mailing it in. And people I grew up with, a lot of people ask, when is it going to be enough for you? When are you going to be done trying to prove a point or trying to make something happen? Why don't you just go and retire? Like, why don't you just live?
What the hell? It is so funny. Our financial advisor was like, tell us about retirement. And we're like, what do you mean? What do you mean? We're not doing that.
No, we're living our dreams.
We are literally going to slide into home base,
Yeah.
like we talked about when
Yeah.
you first
Eat
got
snacks.
here. Yeah, we're going to eat the snacks.
Yeah.
We're
Drink the wine.
going to be
I've had a real job. I
a little bit
used to have a
overweight.
real job.
Yeah, it's a little chunky.
I had a real job.
And okay
I would have
with it.
retired from that job, but this ain't a job. What
No.
we're able to do is it's an
Live.
adventure
Yes.
and it's fun.
It really is living.
Yeah, it really is. So no, we love every business we have, and all of them are for sale if you're interested. But no, we really do get to do what we love. And for me, the basis of it all is the music industry part. And I was super hyper focused on just that for a long time, which I'm a big believer in. Being a meaningful, specific, and getting into the thing that you're doing. Some people may say, well, you're into art, you're in real estate, you're in this, you're in
restaurant
that,
business.
you're in the restaurant business. No. I was a concert promoter for most of my life. And then I was able to take those fruits from that
Right.
and go do other
Build other
things.
things.
Well,
But only
actually-
because I became a meaningful, specific,
I
and
would
became
just-
a world-class concert promoter, one of the top whatever in the world that did it, and was able to take that
In the
and
world.
go
In the world.
and go do bigger
How did you
things.
get into music? I mean, you just decided?
Well, my mother was a Southern gospel singer. I grew up around it. I was in garage bands. I was in high school marching bands. So music was always in my blood and always something I loved. Seeing people come together, have a good time was always in my blood, and then like I said earlier, discovering Casting Crowns when I was working in the factory was really how I was able to leave the
How
factory.
did you discover them working in the factory?
So
How does that happen?
one of my I was looking.
Okay.
Now, and some people say an overnight, there's no such thing as an overnight success.
Right.
I had already decided at 15 years old that I wanted to be a concert promoter.
Okay.
And it wasn't until I was 22 years old before I actually got to be one. Just 7 years. So I'm looking for it. And
he's talking about it.
and
constantly.
I'm telling everybody about it, which is something that I do. If I have an idea or a dream, I'm telling everybody. I'm not keeping it inside.
Yeah.
I don't believe in that.
We don't.
Because
do that as a family.
if we keep it inside, then I've got to do it myself. The opportunities, the doors can only open for me at that point. But if I share it with other people, so I did. I told the whole world about it. And even people were getting sick of hearing me talk about it. One of my best friends, Jared Jackson, he said, "Have you heard this new band, Casting Crowns, on WDJC? They're the only radio station in America playing this song. But this big song, If We Are the Body, it's a great song. It's going to be #1 like next week." And then the guy from the radio station, who I had taken out to lunch 10 times over the last 7 years, calls me and says, "Have you heard about Casting Crowns?" Yeah, I've heard about them. I said, "Well, I talked to Mark Call. He wants to do a Birmingham show. Would you need to be the one to do it." And so I made the phone call to the agent who I had taken out to lunch 10 times in the last 7 years
That he couldn't afford.
that I couldn't afford. And he sold me the show for $3,500. And I did the first Birmingham Casting Crown
Wait,
show.
he sold him that show, and he didn't have enough money. Like, he spent that was all the money he had in savings to do that show. He took a huge risk.
Would have been broke if the show hadn't have done well, but the
But
you
it
know,
did.
That's the risk.
But we sold out 2 shows in one day with him,
And there's the reward.
and there's a reward. Made more money in one day with Casting Crowns on my first show at 23 years old than I made in a whole year at the factory.
That's incredible.
I can imagine though, but if you're a factory worker and you're hearing the story and just action or just the thought around thinking that big and taking that big of a risk has got to would scare the daylights out of the normal person or your person next to you at the factory. And you're like, how'd you do it? Because I mean, if you didn't make that
maybe
money,
they just think you're full of shit.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Like there's
And
two
some
schools
people
of
just
thought.
don't have it.
All the
They
people
don't-
that I work with at the factory, those are my biggest fans.
Yes.
I love
They
that.
love it.
And I correct that. They're my biggest supporters. They're not fans. They're friends, and they know where I came from. They know,
And they know you know where you came from.
and they know I know
Yeah.
where I came from,
And
and
that
I love
matters.
them. And those are people that taught me how to do life, you know. But they also knew that I was not content to stay there, and some of them are still there, and they are where they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be there, and I had a season and I was supposed to be there. But anyway, we're always going to chase our dreams. You know, we're always going to go after what we're supposed to do. Laura is absolutely the perfect wife for a crazy entrepreneur like me, to believe in it, to support it, and to believe all my crazy dreams. And it's not easy. Marriage takes work, and last year was probably our hardest year we ever had as a married couple.
Yes.
And I decided to launch a massive festival tour around the country, and it wasn't easy. It wasn't.
Does that take you away from home a lot? Do you?
It did, because we were launching something new, and I honestly hadn't done that in a long time, because now I'm more the Willy Wonka living in the factory, and I'm coming up with ideas. I left the factory when I was 26 years old.
To go back to the factory.
But to just go right back into it and building things and coming up with ideas. And
Well, it was hard. It was hard because one, it was something new. It shook up our routine that we probably got accustomed to, but it also just, I think we kind of got lax on communication. We got lax on therapy, which is something we deeply believe in. And we believe in going to therapy when things are good. We're like, don't go to therapy when you're sick.
Right.
Go to therapy when you're good.
most people,
So you
when
can
they
get through the sickness.
when they start going to therapy,
Some shit's gone down.
well, they're already it's
too late.
It's too late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're already hard. They've already fallen away from each other. And Laura was really big with showing me that therapy is a good thing. It's not weird and taboo.
I needed a lot of therapy. I've been through a
Well, I
lot.
did too. I did
We
too.
all
another
do.
podcast.
I mean,
Yeah.
we really all do.
We spend a lot of time and money on therapy,
Yeah.
and it's been one of the greatest investments. And that's a risk, to go to on-site, go to these facilities that take your phone away from you and say, let's do
For a
therapy.
whole week. For a whole week and say,
I love that life.
Yeah.
Take it.
Let's
Take
do
the
it.
phone.
Let's do therapy for a week, and let's talk about
That's intense.
when your parents, got
That's true.
divorced when you were 7,
Yeah.
and go back and
Let's see you cry.
repair some of those wounds.
Yeah.
So she's amazing. She really is.
They don't
Super
give your
fun.
phone back for like an hour a day or anything.
No, not at all. Not at all.
it's so good though. You
I've been
press
to
pause.
one. I've been to one place where it was only like a 4-day retreat, but you put your phone in a box and then everybody totes it around all weekend at the ranch.
Yeah.
And I didn't even want to turn it on.
I almost didn't.
You never do. You get it
I
back,
didn't even
and you're
want it. I
scared.
just knew the anxiety on the other end of the
Yes, turn it
power on.
Yes.
And I'm like, God, I don't even want it back. I just need another couple days of peace.
Totally.
Agreed. We
I didn't
feel
get
the
that couple
same
more
way.
days of
You
peace.
don't. You have to take it back. You reemerge.
Get back to
Next
selling.
question.
All right, let's take a break. We'll pick this
You need
up
to go
on
potty?
the other side.
Okay.